There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment, and here we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. Welcome to the show, everybody. I say in the opening, voices that inspire and people to make you think in a different way and think that things could be a little bit different than you think they is because you don't know what they is because anyway. We have a gentleman who's with us today that is going to help us maybe think of a little bit different way of being that I think is really exciting. But first, my good friend Rochelle is here. Hey, kid, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Kevin. How are you? That's going to be quite the day talking about our brains. How do you feel about that?
Sometimes I feel like the scarecrow.
That's okay.
That I don't have a brain, or was it his brain or his heart? No, his was the brain, I think. But in any event, we have a young man who is with us, and I want to thank him first of all for his service. He was in the military, and he served at Fort Lewis, which is right down the road from where I live. So he was in the Pacific Northwest for a period of time.
I was,
and he has developed a concept that takes the philosophy of life from way back from the beginning to understanding how theology played a role and psychology plays a role and what we do. But there is an order to life that many people are not thinking about because their life is chaotic for them and it's not working very well for them. And he's written a book, Your Guide to a Better Way of Thinking, which I just love that. Rochelle, would you like to introduce our guest for the hour?
I would love to. We have Richard Waldman here with us today. He has a website, Brainyites.com, and that's Brainyites.com. It's fun to say the other way, though. Welcome, Richard. How are you today?
Excellent. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And Richard, I got to ask you, was there an epiphany that happened for you that this kind of came to you, kind of like a download and thinking about life as being chaotic and what's going on and why is it that way? And how did you come up with this entire concept? It is a big deal, by the way.
No, I appreciate that. If I could try to keep it real simple. I got involved way back when I went I bought a home. Okay, this is back, and a realtor I used, whatever, he says, Richard, they have a calculator class, and back in the 80s, it was coming out, and we can calculate payments and stuff like that. And would you like to go? It's open to the public. I said, I would love to go. So I went ahead, they told what kind of calculator to get, and I did. And it was a 2-part class. It was in the evening. One part was one evening, and the following evening was the second part. Well, I took the first part and I went home that night and I'm practicing with a calculator and I realized there was maybe some ways they could have made it a little simpler. So I went back the next day and I was talking to the instructor and I thought, should I say something? And I thought, go ahead. So I mentioned it to him. He says, you want a job? I said, what are you talking about? We're looking for somebody to teach this class. And I said, what? He says, yeah, the guy that created, it was a title company and title insurance company. And the fellow that created, he left and whatever, but we owned the class and it was scheduled to teach and no one was here. And so they picked me and we're looking for somebody. Do you have a kind of about numbers? I said, well, I majored in accounting in college. He says, you're perfect. Would you be open to talking to we're a small company, but to our president, his name's Bob. And I said, well, next thing I know, I've got an appointment with Bob. And I went in and met him. One thing led to another. He said, Richard, we'd love to bring you on. And I jumped on it. I was working in accounting at the time. I wasn't really happy. And one thing led to another. And it turns out I never thought of myself as a teacher, but it turns out I had an affinity to do this. And one thing led to another. I was teaching the class, and I started developing more classes. And then one day a stockbroker calls me up. And we used to use these classes to develop relationships with other companies to do business with, exposure, comfort, relationships, business. And he calls me up. He says, Richard, I'm a stockbroker, and I understand you do these classes to generate business, relate with other like lenders and escrows so they can direct business to you. I said, that's right. Well, I work with attorneys, and we work closely on retirement plans, but I don't know how to reach out to them. And I thought, God, if I could do continuing education for attorneys, invite them in on retirement plans, I might have an opportunity to develop that relationship. I said, bottom line, we got together. We created a class. I went through all the particulars, and I showed them how to teach it. One thing led to another. I did a seminar for a company, and the audience was a life coach. He said, Richard, do you do life coaching? I says, no, you ought to think about, well, one thing led to another. So I started getting more and more into this. And then I started thinking, so then as I got into it, more personal stuff was coming up with people. Well, Rich, this is happening and that's happening with me. And I didn't know how to handle it. I mean, okay, I'm not a psychologist. So then I began thinking, wait a minute, we all suffer. We all suffer at different times over different things, over different levels. We all suffer at different, but we never hear about it. COVID-19 we just had, roughly 9% of the population was burdened by the disease. Okay, here everyone is burdened by emotional suffering. We all have stress and all these different things go on, but no one talks about it. And I thought, well, wait a minute. If we all suffer all the time, all the different things, there's got to be a reason why. And so I started thinking about it as if someone had come to me and said, Richard, we want you to teach a class on why we suffer and where it comes from and how to manage it. Whoa. So I started giving some energy to that. And then I thought, well, maybe as I'm going down the road, maybe there's a connection between our intelligence and the fact that we suffer. And one thing popped up was they talked about our self-image, our ego. Sigmund Freud called it the ego, which is Latin for I, meaning the self. And I'm thinking, well, I didn't create the image in my head of who I think I am. Well, my brain must have done it. And as I'm getting more involved, I'm realizing the brain is a chaotic and nonsensical place. Okay, it creates a lot of things. It tells us you need to go out and kill that person because of what they did to you. I mean, I'm getting really extreme here, but we have all these nefarious thoughts that want to take us in the wrong direction, many of which we act upon, and we wonder why, how did we get where we are? So I started really kind of getting into this, trying to break it down. And over time, I was able to, for example, we take, for example, the image in our head out. We didn't create it, our brain did. Then I started thinking, wait a minute, what about those nighttime dreams? We don't set out to, we don't have any jurisdiction or any control over our dreams. They just happen. But they don't always represent reality, do they? No, they don't. And what about the fact that we have it's been established, over 6,000 thoughts a day? Do we take time out to think of consciously these thoughts, or are they just happening? They're just happening. You go, well, wait a minute. Maybe, excuse me, let me take a little sip here. This could be a part of the puzzle. Our brain, our chaotic and nonsensical brain, has the power to create on its own. And unfortunately, much of what it creates doesn't serve us. It takes us in the wrong direction. And our brain also has a mouthpiece called the chatter in our head. That speaks to us. Our brain talks to us, but it doesn't always talk to us in a way that moves us forward. And then I came to the conclusion, wait a minute, this chatter in our head has a goal. It's to keep us where we are or worse, which is why we never change. So one thing led to another. And I started, I've got involved a little bit with the Bible, and I'm not religious. Okay, I was born a Jew, but this Jew ran into another Jew called Jesus. And I started getting into what he was saying. You got to lose yourself to find yourself. Oh, wait a minute. It sounds like he was into this 2,000 years ago. Know what's in front of you, what is hidden will be revealed. If you bring out what is within you, what you bring out will save you. If you don't, it will destroy you. So I'm getting involved in this, and I'm seeing more and more that our brain is the culprit. Our brain is the problem. Our brain has the ability to not only to create, it has the ability to miscreate. But more important, our brain is not who we are. The chatter in our head is not who we are. Then who are we? Well, that's our job to figure out. And part of that is connected to what it is that we love to do. Once again, if you bring out what is within you, what you bring out will save you. So all these things were going on, and I thought, well, how can I bring this together in a format that people can look at and understand that makes sense? It's easy not only to understand, but it's transferable. In other words, I can share it with you and you can pick it up right away. And what I came up with, and I called it the order. You want to ask me a question, Kevin, or am I going too fast, or are we
What
good?
are you doing? You're doing just fine, young
Yeah.
man. Keep it up.
Rochelle, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
go ahead. I'm good.
all right. So this is what over time, this came up, and I don't know if, well, you can see it. And it's obviously it's a circle, and the factors in the circle move us forward. And what are they? One, to be aware. Aware of what? Aware of the fact that our personality has evolved in more than one direction. There's a side of us that's connected to the Almighty, and there's a side that our brain created. Now, the problem with the image that our brain created, it's judgmental by nature. It's judgmental by nature. And who do we judge? We judge everybody and everything. But who do we judge more than anyone else? Ourselves. We're not good enough. We're not smart enough. We don't have what it takes. Why try? Okay. So being aware that our personality has evolved in more than one direction. I mean, which side of my personality am I now thinking through? Am I thinking through the side that wants to hold me back? Or am I thinking through the side that is unlimited, that's connected to the universe itself? Two, the present moment. The present moment and the chatter in our head cannot exist at the same place at the same time. Our brain, loves to, in a way, how do I say, keep us where we are. And it uses, for example, it turns time into a weapon. For example, our brain loves to launch us into the future and beat us up with what if questions we can't answer. Kevin, what if you lost your job? What if you can't pay your bills? What if, what if, what if? And when it tires of beating us up in the present moment, Rochelle, it loves to drag us back into the past to remind us of all the stupid things that we've done and said, and how people told us we're not good enough, we're not smart enough. And we don't realize we spend most of our time in the future being fearful, and in the past being regretful, not knowing that our point of power is in the present moment. The present moment and the chatter in our head cannot exist at the same place at the same time. I can't change in the future. I can't change in the past. All I can change is in right now, and right now, and right now. Next, conscious choice. Thinking through what you might create for yourself if you act upon your current thinking. How many times have we thought about saying something and we thought, you know what, maybe I better not say that, or maybe I better not do that. Or times when we have done it, we go, oh, I wish I hadn't said that. I wish I hadn't done that. Thinking through, and I tell people, anytime you have a doubt at all, give it 24 hours. And 99% of the time, Rich, I gave it 24 and I decided not to do it. It wasn't the smart thing to do because we perpetuate the very thing that we say that we hate. We hate conflict, but we perpetuate it. But I have to get back at them. I have to tell them off. I have to set them right. And last is connecting to what it is that you love to do. If you bring out what is within you, what you bring out will save you. If you do not bring out what is within you, what you do not bring out will destroy you. For example, when I'm dealing with somebody, for example, even suicide or they're addicted to drugs, I'll try and find out what it is that they do value, because right now that's what they value. A person who's suicidal does not value life. What they want to get rid of is the pain, the mental pain going along, but they don't know how to do it because people have here, take this drug. No one has spoken to them that you can't manage what's inside of your head. or the person is addicted to drugs. If I can point out or help them find what it is they truly value, then if they get, let's say, start walking that walk, they might get to a point where, you know what, I love this so much, I don't think I'm going to do the drugs anymore because it's getting in my way of what I really want to do, of where my value is, and what I'm, getting off on. So it's all about, what is it that we value, and so let's go outside of the circle. The number one thing is judgment. Judgment is the most destructive mindset you can have because you cannot have a negative state of mind without first being judgmental. When I worked with people who, we've gone through this together. Hey, Rich, I'm having a bad day or whatever. My first question is, what are you judging? You're right. I'm judging this or I'm judging that. You're right. I should be letting it go, but you're right. Okay, I see. Okay, I see what the leak is, and letting go. That's something else too. It sounds very simple, but it's not, because we hang on to this stuff because the chatter in our head wants us to hang on. As long as we hang on to all the garbage that's happened in the past, we're not going to move forward. We're not going to have the life. There's a difference between living, being alive, being alive and living life. Okay. We can be alive, but we're not living life. The odds makers said, I saw on the internet, that the odds are 400 trillion to 1 that you and I and everyone else would be a life living person on this planet. We beat the odds. We beat the odds. But what are we doing? We're taking this thing called life and we're pissing it away over these stupid things. Well, they're angry with me, or I'm angry with them, or this happened to me. Don't you understand? But we don't value life. And, there again, we protect what we value. So it's all about, there again, we listen to the chatter in our head, that collects the evidence. Well, Kevin, you messed up before. Remember they told you you couldn't do it. Remember they told you you weren't good enough. When are you gonna? Then we buy into the evidence. Yeah, you're right. Maybe I'm not good enough, smart enough, and then we react. And next thing you know, we're living outside of the circle, having completely unaware how to get back into it, or really what it's about that we need to focus on. That's in a nutshell.
Richard, I hope that people are resonating with this. Rochelle, I'm pretty sure you are.
Yeah.
And we need to take a quick break so that you can get something to drink. And this is just, I wanted to play this because I think that this is a good metaphor for where you were and going to where you are and leading what you're doing. And we call it the seed. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. A tiny seed was buried in the dirt, covered in darkness, forgotten by the world. But within that darkness, it grew roots, then sprouted into something beautiful. The seasons of struggle you face are not endings. They're beginnings. Trust that growth is happening, even when you cannot see it. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope live. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald, and Rochelle is right there. And we've got an extraordinary guest here today who he's going to flip your brain just a little bit, because your brain isn't serving you necessarily, because it is telling you all kinds of things, because it's based on, and I've heard this before, Richard, it's based on fight or flight, which is something that we used a billion years ago to keep ourselves from getting eaten by dinosaurs or whatever. And so, but it hasn't evolved into, but there is another part of us which we need to talk about. But Rochelle, I want your thoughts. What do you think so far?
It sounds like everything that I've been learning and trying to grasp the concept of, because once you become aware of what's actually going on in your head, you realize how much work needs to be done. And it's not easy. It's a continual thing, day in, day out, all day. And you mentioned letting go of something, and me and my mom were kind of chatting about that this morning, of why do we choose to hold on to these things when we know consciously that we have the choice to forgive it and let it go. But for some reason, it doesn't always just go. You know what I mean? Sometimes it'll hang
I
on and
do.
linger, or sometimes it will just jump right back into your vision. Is that normal?
Yes, yes, and there's a reason for it. Okay, we back up. I mentioned the ego, the alter self.
Mhm.
The alter self I came up with has 4 needs. It wants us to fulfill, which we do. And one of them is the need to project to the world the image in our head of who our brain thinks we are. Look at me. I'm wonderful. Okay. This is uh, going back to the story of Adam and Eve when they took a bite of the forbidden fruit. Their eyes opened, right? They were
Right.
full of themselves. Okay. The same thing happens. Another need that our ego has, it wants us to fulfill, which we do, is the need to be right. Who doesn't like being right? Okay. To be in control. And lastly, to never, never, never be accountable. Okay. And one of the ways that we how do I say um, go through the action of being right is making others wrong. And we do it, we're not really conscious, we're not aware of what we're doing. And I might say, Kevin, that's really still, Richard, I bought a new car. Or what, why would you buy that car, Kevin? That's stupid. Why would you buy it that color? Or Rochelle, you did what? Why are you wearing that outfit? Well, don't you? Yeah. So I'm making you wrong. I'm making you wrong. And what I am making you wrong because I want to be right. But we do this all the time, unconsciously of what we're doing because we have this need to be right. Instead of saying, Kevin, beautiful car. God bless you. May you enjoy it for the and Rochelle, you look lovely. Where go for it, girlfriend. You know, we we could change the world right here, right now, if we did 2 very simple things. If we started supporting each other instead of judging each other. Imagine that, supporting each other instead of judging each other. But that's part of the ego. Again, look at who I am. I need to be right. I need to be in control, and I am never going to be accountable. You can point out over and over my faults. Will I admit them? No, because if I did, that means I might have to own them. That means I might have to change. And if I change, then who am I? Then who am I? So one kind of follows the other.
Well, and
Richard,
I'm
I got to.
relating to it too, Kevin. I don't know if you understand too, but it sounds like the difference between protecting yourself and being vulnerable.
Yeah,
And we talk
yeah,
about that a lot.
but see, here's the thing. Okay, thank you. Good point. Part of the reasons why we're vulnerable is we see ourselves as being incomplete. Show me a life form on the planet that is incomplete, that survives. Show me. You can't. Everything the good Lord creates is complete, and so are we. But the chatter in our head doesn't want us to see us complete because then we might have a life. And if we have a life, that means the chatter, well, they may not need me anymore. And they might think to get rid of me. And I don't want to die. I don't want to die. So the chatter in our head is going to do everything it can in order, because it wants to live too. It wants to survive as well. And it wants to keep you in that loop.
Rude.
Because we compare ourselves to other people who we tend to think are better than us, or somebody that we would emulate as being, they got it all together. And the reality is, I don't know if you know this, but
Yeah.
none of us have it all together.
But how many rich and famous people do we know that have destroyed themselves, that have it? You think, how can they destroy themselves? But they do. They have
Yep.
all the money and the fame and everything, and they still commit suicide and they ruin their life. Why? Because they don't see them as simple as see themselves as being complete. Hey, look, we're perfect as we are, and we're all wired differently. We think differently. We're wired differently about different things, and it's okay. It's okay.
We should celebrate our differences and
Yeah.
not deny them or to condemn them because they are different than us. We should celebrate who they are, don't you think?
I do, but we have not been educated to do that. See, that's the thing. We have to look about how we've been educated, and we don't think to question these things because this is what we've always have done. You look at go back to the story of Adam and Eve. Metaphorically speaking, we're kicked out of the Garden of Eden for judging, blaming, hiding, and not being accountable. What's changed? We're still judging, blaming, hiding, and not being, and no one's questioning why. Why we haven't learned anything, or learned meaning, why we haven't changed, why we haven't incorporated this into our lives to make a difference. Exactly.
It is so fascinating when we start talking about this, because you end up going down the road which leads to the ultimate conclusion. And tell me if you agree with this, Richard. That leads me to the ultimate conclusion that we were born great.
Absolutely.
We've been great our entire lives, but we listen to other people who tell us we ain't so great. There's certain things that happen for us or around us that can educate us and give us the experiences that make it better for us to get to the next experience and to continue to living, and that this is all a continuum, and it's all designed for our benefit, don't you think?
I agree 100. I couldn't have said it better. Yeah, dead on. You're dead on. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But people don't recognize that it's for our benefit because they're worried about this or that. As a matter of fact, when I first met Michelle, and she's a wonderful human being, but she was concerned about everything that was going on, and weren't you, my dear?
Yeah, I mean, everything was fight or flight. There wasn't any decision or anything I was doing during the day. The chatter fully had a hold of me. I was unaware of myself. I didn't know my identity. And everything kind of always just felt like I was doing something wrong. And then living
Well,
off of that every moment and being in the past, everything I did forward was just making it worse. And then one day over some time, I just did certain practices and started noticing certain things. And that's what I wanted to ask you, Richard, is what are some of the main practices that I want to give you a point to make all of those known, and then I want to talk about it deeper when we come back if we can do that. But
okay.
just
I'm gonna.
things to help you. Like, I'm realizing now as we're talking about this that I don't know what it was that made me conscious to pay attention, but how can people do that? Like, just normally
Well,
every day.
you've developed awareness that something may not quite be right, and the key, and once again, to changing all of that and what you were going through the whole process, you were, if you look at it, step back, you were being judgmental. You were judging all of these things, and
Mhm.
like I say, a judgmental mindset is the most destructive mindset you can have. If you
Mhm.
would have been aware and stopped the judgment, all that would have stopped because it's all judgment driven. That's one of the, well, they say one of the scariest things for people to do is to get up in front of a crowd and speak. Why? Because they're worried about, they may not say it or be of being judged, of being judged, oh, of being judged. And we're not aware of it, but that's what we're concerned about.
Yeah.
Years ago, I was in California with what's called Toastmasters. It was a speaking
Sure.
club. Oh, you have it up there?
Oh
To-
yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. And so bottom line was a teacher came in from one of the middle schools. Hey, we're having a speech contest and we need a couple of people to ref. Anybody want to, I raised my hand. Yeah. And another fellow, okay, so we went over there and we met the kids, they're what, 8th, 9th grade. And there was about 6, 7 of them or whatever. And so, well, let's hear what they're talking about and what their subject is. So you gave us a presentation. And so one of the individuals, I could tell he was very nervous. And so
Mhm.
afterwards, I said, how you feeling? I said, yeah. I said, it's kind of scary to get up there. Yeah, it is. I says, yeah, you know what you're afraid of? No, you're probably afraid of people judging you that maybe you're not doing a good job. Does that? Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. I said, you've heard people speak, right? Yeah. When they're up there speaking, do you want them to fail? He goes, no, of course not. The audience doesn't want you to fail either. And the only time they know you're failing is if you tell them. Tell them when you screwed up. If you pause, they don't know that.
Yep.
They don't know. Maybe that's part of your. So bottom line, it created a whole shift in him. Once he understood that judgment was it, he could get up and he did wonderful. But it was all about judgment rules us, and we're not aware. It rules us in everything that we do. Everything we do. Every time we hear, we're being judged, or we look at somebody else, or maybe you've been at a party or get together and you look at somebody, looks kind of a sleazy person, or next thing you know, you run into them. And next thing you know, you're talking about this and this and this and that, and you're sharing the same values. And all of a sudden, this judgment you had about them fades. And now you're really into this person. You're not seeing all that stuff you had before because I really believe that true love is about values. If you take a set of values that meets another set and you bring them together, you have one set of values. Okay. And we've all experienced that. We meet somebody or whatever, and we come and it just flows. It just flows. There's no conflict because we share the same values. We like doing the same things. And that's what it's all about. Living, once again, not having just being alive, but living life and finding those who share the values that you do.
And we are talking with Richard Waldman, and you need to go to his website, which is, again, Rochelle.
Yes, which is brainyites.com. Go check it out. It's actually pretty cool. And when we come back, Kevin, I would love to talk with Richard about prejudgment and how that affects our future when it's not even written yet.
Prejudgment.
And we'll be right back. Stay with us, everybody.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to brushwoodmedianetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald, and Rochelle is right there. And Richard, I've got to ask you, because there's another human being that's to your left and is there. And how does he think we're doing? Are we doing, or she? Are we doing okay?
Yeah, we're doing great. We're doing great. He's my assistant.
Okay. Well, and I love somebody who's your assistant because they keep you on the front and narrow, and they make sure that your fly is zipped and all that kind of stuff. Because that's the first thing that people are worried about when they're speaking in front of other people is, how do I look?
I'm not worried about that. I can't change that. But all I can say is, Tanner, we lost the picture. We don't have any sound. That kind of anyway. But we're good. We're good.
Oh, very, very good. So, Rochelle, go ahead with your question again for Richard.
Yes. Well, I'm very curious. We do a lot of past judgment and a lot of current judgment, but what about prejudgment when, do we decide to write our own path just based off of the way we judge things?
Well, many times prejudgment or whatever is about fear, because we're thinking in the future, I may not be judging somebody because maybe what they wear, but I may be judging the situation because I'm fearful about what might happen or what might be said, or I may not be able to handle it or something like that. But when it comes to prejudgment of, you mean of like a people or anything, or
just in general? I know the reason I say this is because when that judgment mind isn't so strong and you grasp a hold of controlling it, and then you start changing those thoughts with positive things and gratitude and all those things, then it changes your life path because you're no longer in that energy space. But I see a lot of people who are already judging things that haven't happened for their future yet. And then what you just said is so head on, because what they fear the most is what they actually attract.
True. Well, and matter of fact, it's probably no difference. I'm thinking about between prejudgment and judgment. Judgment's judgment. You know what I mean? It's like, is
Yeah.
there pre-hate? Is there pre-hate, then hate? Or,
Yeah.
or is there well, there could be pre-love before love, I guess. I don't know. But technically speaking, we're in a judgmental mode. In other words, and it's very hard to shut off because we've been educated to be judged. I mean, myself, all of our lives, I find myself judging. I find myself, people say, you see this? What does it say?
If it weren't
If
for
it
our
weren't
brains, we'd
for
all
our-
be well.
That's right, and me included. Okay, well, people say, "Oh, Rich, you have it together." I am not a well person. Okay, we all have our stuff, But I get it. I love self deprivation. I tell people, look, I am not the sharpest pencil in the room. My mother didn't raise any normal kids. Okay, I'm the first one to jump into this. It's because we're all vulnerable. Hey, we're all screw ups in our own way, and I accept that. Just today, I had a relative text me something, and I thought it came from her, and she says, "No, Richard, it's from me, Terry. I was passing it on." I says, I should have known. I said, there again, I have a hard time, distinguishing what's what, but that's me. You know what I mean? So accept your faults, have fun with them, laugh, have a good time. If you screw up, oh man, it's like the other day I'd forget my butt if it wasn't tied on. You know what I mean? Just have fun with it. Stop judging, have a good time. Don't blame. You know what I mean? Just let it. And because then we start doing all that stuff, then we start connecting to it. Anger, blame, judging, all these things. Then we start connecting to what it is, and then it owns us, and we can't get rid of it. Then we stay in it. So the biggest thing I find: see it, acknowledge it, and release it, and let it go. Let it go. And that's one of the exercises I encourage people to do is we all have an expectation maybe if something's going to happen or not happen. Okay, but and it could maybe not quite go our way. But here's what I suggest: whatever it is you're doing, do the best you can up to that point where you can't do anymore, and let it go. Let it go. And totally I don't think about it, nothing, and see what happens. And sometimes I hear this a lot. Hey, Rich, I wanted to do, let's say road A, but it didn't work out. So I had to go down road B. As it turned out, road B was better than road A, and I never would have gone down it had it not worked out. You know what I mean? And so be aware of what the universe, where it's taking you. The universe doesn't work in a straight line. Things are changing. I mean, years ago, they say, well, when you graduated college 5 years from now, it's going to be obsolete. Today, it's 5 seconds because things are changing so fast. It's okay. It's okay. Let it go. Move on to the next one. It's okay. Make it okay with yourself to make mistakes. You're vulnerable. Hey, I screwed up. It's okay. It's part of life, and get over it and enjoy it. That's all I can say.
I don't think that there's anybody. Well, there was one guy 2,000 years ago who was perfect.
Yeah.
But other than that, none of us qualifies for that.
No.
And so you need to approach life with a sense of humor, because that is what life is about.
It is.
Understanding that none of us is perfect. All of us, I don't know if you know this, but even a pretty girl passes gas from time to time. And that's just the way.
No.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've never seen it, but I've heard it. But I know I've heard of it. Let me put it that way. But Richard, I have to tell you, years ago, and there are some people who, because of the circumstances in life, they tend to get it. One lady I was talking to, she was a 4-time cancer survivor.
Wow.
And they had told her that she was going to pass away on a number of occasions, and she didn't. And I said, given your experience now and everything that you've been through, can you give us a piece of advice on how to live life? And she said, yeah. If you keep one foot in the past and the other foot in the future, you're peeing on the present.
Yeah.
Don't pee on the present.
Yeah.
And that was maybe one of the deepest and most consequential thoughts of that I've had in my lifetime, because it meant so much. And she was one that had experienced all of that. So in your work with the book that you've written, I know you're working to help people understand some of these concepts of how the universe works, and so that they can get past it. Is
Yeah.
that when did you discover or decide that that was your mission in life?
Slowly. I've always, my growing up, my brother used to say, "You're the only one laughs at your own jokes." I go, "Well, I think they're funny," but
You're
I
entitled.
yeah, well, in school, I was always acting up, trying to get a laugh. It says everything was boring to me. You know what I mean? I always wanted to have fun, and so this was kind of always along here. And then I even if you're here's something interesting. You ever heard of NAMI, National Association of Mental Illness? NAMI, NAMI.
Yes.
I just left with one of the direct that they want to partner with us. They just today we got together, and they said we like what you're doing, and we're holding a seminar, and they saw it. One thing led to another. What are you doing? I told them. We met with them, and they said we'd like to partner with you. We like what you're doing, which you're espousing, your takeaways, and how would you feel? I says yeah. So that's the whole thing is when I go into when I'm doing live, I want to have fun, and I tell them that. I say, look, I might be the speaker, but the fun, the joy we're going to get is from you. And because what I try to do in the crowd is that we're going through, I want to stimulate conversation. I want to hear from you, because everyone in the room we're all in the same boat. We're all wired. Now we're wired a little differently, but we all have the same fearful. We're anxiety. We're upset. All these things are going. We all experience them, just at different times and at different levels over different things. So I get into it where the room's now sharing. The room is starting to develop an energy upon itself. We're all sharing, connecting, wanting to support each other. And so if this is not hard stuff, it's just a question that we have not been educated to do these kinds of things. You go to church and we dismay. We don't hear about it anymore. And part of the problem that NAMI was having, they'll do seminars here and there, but nothing's consistent. And then usually they have one person doing all the administrative work, trying to do seminars at the same time, and you can't do it all versus having somebody out there all the time just conducting programs. And because this stuff is not necessarily fun stuff, we need to hear it over and over and over again. I don't know about you, but I need to hear things repeatedly.
Well, and I'll tell you, Richard, that this is the stuff that we're talking about today. Is some of the most exciting stuff that is imaginable to me.
I think so too.
And I'll tell you, and I know I don't have to tell you because you get it, and Rochelle's getting it too. But for those of you who don't understand these concepts yet, it's a way for you to live your life in a much happier, much more consistent, and also how you can impact those people around you in a positive way because you're acting differently than you did before.
Well, the law of attraction, exactly. Who wants to be around a person that's angry, upset, and depressed? Who wants to be around? You want to be someone who's joyous, who's laughing, who shares values. You get something. That's what we want to be around. These types of things, and so it doesn't get any more complicated than this.
I got to ask you because I believe that the things, and I'm going to say this, and we can take a quick break, and then I want your answer when we come back.
Okay.
But I believe that everything is happening to you because you said yes to the universe. When you asked the question, why is it this way? The universe started giving you the answers of why it's this way.
True.
And then they provided you with a way for you to help people recognize that they too could get out of that negative circle of existence and to live their lives in a much better way. Did I say that well, Rochelle?
Yes, extremely.
It's true.
And that's what makes life worth living and why it is such a magical journey that we are on. And when we you can hold that up, Richard, before we go to break.
This is coming next. See, this is coming next. Okay, we'll do the break and we'll come back to it.
Very good. This is just 49 seconds. We'll be right back.
They gave her crowns, but never freedom. They gave her titles, but never peace. The Girl of Many Crowns is the story of Judith of Francia, a woman born into power, yet bound by duty. In an age ruled by kings and scarred by war, she found her strength not in her throne, but in her heart. This is a story of courage, love, and the fight to be free when the world told her she couldn't be. Step into her journey, feel her fire, and see how one woman's choices changed the course of history. The Girl of Many Crowns, available now on Amazon Books, Kindle, Amazon Audiobooks, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, and BookBaby Bookshop. Order your copy today.
And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald. And if you like that piece that we just played, that is a book promo that we created. I have a wonderful team that does creation. So get in touch with me or Brichelle, Kevin at kmmedia.pro, Brichelle at kmmedia.pro, right?
Yes, Brichelle at kmmedia.pro.
It's your email. I don't ever mess with your email. And see, and Richard, that's part of the charm, which nobody's perfect and nobody ever says anything just perfectly and stuff. And so, I accept that and stuff. So, but in your world, because you began to say yes and you started to have these thoughts that may have come from somewhere else, may have come from you, but most likely they came from the universe and all the things that give us the, dare I say it, inspiration to do great things. And so this has become your passion, your work. And if you look at the timeline, great things happen in your website. It talks about mental health, and voila, what happened today? It's because they come to you and they say, Richard, we need you to help us with our program about mental health. It's all connected, is what I'm trying to say.
It is. Yes. Here's another example. People many times are afraid to try new things, and I'll say, wait a minute. Okay, if it doesn't work out, I mean, is it going to cost you anything? Are you going to get hurt anyway? No. Well, let's try it, because the universe doesn't work in a straight line. And many times when things are not working, it's just only because there's something we have yet to learn. And this is a while ago. My website, which is still, I have what's called WordPress, as far as the software that runs it. Well, this is when I'm in Florida now. I was in California at the time, just south of San Francisco. And my WordPress guy, he was moving, whatever it was. He said, I'm leaving the other. I said, well, can you refer me to somebody? He goes, no, geez, I really don't know anybody. So I thought, what am I going to go? Am I going to find somebody? And my wife says, she was there, and she says, what are you going to do? I says, well, I know what I'm going to do. And I says, hang on a second. So I went on the internet. There's a website called Meetup, one word, MEET up, Meetup. So I put WordPress, Word Meetup, San Francisco. Boom, a seminar. It's for WordPress developers. It's a technical seminar for the developers. It's going to be conducted in 2 weeks in San Francisco, and over 100 people have already signed up. I says, honey, look what I found. I said, I'm going to go. She says, well, but it's for developers. You're looking for someone to help. I said, I know. And she, well, how's that going to work? I said, well, I got an idea, and you're going to help me. She says, do what? Well, she loved to work with paper. And I said, I want you to make me a sign. And this is what I told her. What I says, make me a sign. It says, help, seeking WordPress consultant. Okay. It's got a little string. And she says, I says, I'm going to wear this around my neck when I walk into the seminar. So I get up there, I put it around my neck, I walk in, and right away, all the eyes are now coming to me, and people are pointing and people are smiling. Next thing I know, a line, I haven't said one word, a line has formed, and people now are giving me their cards. One, I end up with a stack of cards like this within 2 minutes. I hadn't said a word, not one word, because I took a risk and I put this little sign on, and it worked. Okay. So what I'm saying, there's a lot of things that we can do creatively to create things that we want or whatever, but sometimes we have to go outside the box, and it just one thing, I'm always about suggestions, trying to be creative, because the universe will serve up. If you stay with it, it will serve up. It will absolutely serve up. And here's another part. The universe does react to us. Um, um, is Darwin, Charles Darwin, who came up, he wrote The Origin of Species about evolution. He was in the Galapagos Islands, and he was a naturalist, and he believed that all life that we see was exactly how God created it, just the way we see it. And then he was on the different islands, and he saw these finches. Well, in one island, there was the bird's beak was different. It was curved. And because there was a nut tree, these nut trees on the island, and he noticed the birds were looking at the nuts to get them open. Then it dawned on him, wait a minute, over time, because they were pecking on the nut, the universe responded and turned their beak into a tool that was now able to open the nuts. He realized the universe responds to us, and if we stay with something, if we believe, stay with it, and the answer will reveal itself over time. It may come in pieces, but if you love it, you'll stay with it, and it will happen. I guarantee you. It may not be exactly as you thought of it, but it will happen in a way that I truly believe you'll be amazed.
And oftentimes it ends up happening better
Yeah.
than what you had envisioned it.
Yeah.
Brichelle, what do you think of all this?
I think it's amazing, especially in there's a lot of things going through my head because we're in a generation now, it's seeming to where people are starting to realize, all things are possible and what can I do? But the fear is still with them because maybe they are scared of what could actually go wrong, or when
Sure.
you are outside your comfort zone, then that little nitpicky mind can't tell you that it knows how everything is going to turn out. But trust is the flip side of everything that we've talked about. Not just trust outside of yourself, but within. If you have a trust that's founded in who you are, there's really no room for failure and judgment and all those things because you no longer can see it that way. Is that true, Richard?
True. And the key is stop judging. Stop. It's as simple. Just stop judging. Just go into it like, I'm not judging at all. I'm just see what happens. Am I going to get hurt? No. Am I going to cost me? No. Let's see what happens. The next thing you know, God, I met so-and-so. What a wonderful experience. Just be out there. It's, and when you're out there, one of the people say, well, I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do that. I said, well, go hook up with people, join groups that are where you want to be, and migrate to those that you resonate with. And when you get to that point where you exposure, comfort, relationships, business, if you can develop a relationship with those people, for example, Kev or Brichelle, if I let's say I want to where you want, I want to be where you are. And so maybe after developing Brichelle, I may say, Brichelle, let me ask you a question. You're smart. God, you're where I want to be. And knowing what you know about me, okay, if you were me right now, what would you do to get where you are now? What would you do if you were me right now, knowing you had and then listen to her, see what she has to say. I'm not saying I would do it, but then I would ask, I would migrate towards other people, get their opinions. But there's a way to pick their brains without picking their brains. If you start developing the right, those and asking the right questions. It's all about asking the right, selling. I hate to use people, well, I hate selling, but let's say communicating is all about asking the right questions, all about asking the right questions. And it's as simple as that. But many times we're afraid because they might judge me, or that question might be stupid, or all these other things go on. But when we boil it all down, it's usually judgment that stops us from doing what we know to do.
Very true.
because we're scared of the outcome, or we're
Right.
scared of what my wife is going to say,
Right.
which I was, but she did it anyway. And so now she's not my wife, and stuff. And it's, it is amazing. If you look at life from my perspective, from where I've been, I've done 2,700 shows over
Wow.
over the last 20 years.
Wow.
And a lot of the people that I've had on, they all, Richard, we're all saying the same things in slightly different ways, because I think on your website, it talked about things are changing, and we are getting more in tune with what we're really all about. And the pendulum, which right now is like swinging way the hell over here, is coming back to us, and there are more people that are more conscious about what's going on. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, I do. And there's some, I go back to one of the comments Jesus said, let those who are dying bury the dead. And meaning there are some, the dead, meaning there's some people, not dead, but dead spiritually, psychologically, you can't get through to. We all run into those. It doesn't matter what you say, what you can't get through to. Doesn't matter. And there are those like Jesus, I'm sure he ran into, that are doubting, what he was saying. And these basically, well, look, why don't you go out there and hang out with those who already have died? Okay. All right. You know what I mean? Because you can only take things so far, and we're always going to run into those. And so what and then you release them. Okay. Next, don't judge them, love them and release them. That's all. And just stay out there.
That is a huge piece of it. Love them and release
them. That's
all.
all.
Because from my perspective, and I don't know if this is everybody's, but they're going to get it, and it may not be soon, it may not be this lifetime, but they'll get it eventually. Yeah. And that's okay. Just let it, the gospel according to Paul McCartney, and then I'm going to let Rochelle finish up. The gospel according to Paul McCartney is let it be.
Let it be.
Rochelle?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Richard, for spending this time with us. As you know, you have to come back on the show because I've got quite a list of questions for you.
I love it. You guys wonderful hosts. You guys do a great job. I really mean that. Yeah.
Well, we have amazing people like you we get to speak with, and it makes it so much easier to just have a conversation.
God.
But thank you for dedicating yourself to putting in this work and finding your mission, because without you, there would be a huge gap. So I want to give you the last few moments to share about your book, where people can find that, your website, all those fun things, and then a message you'd like to leave our audience with for the day.
Okay. Well, the book is simple. Amazon. Okay. Your guide to a better way of thinking. And my message is go out there and have fun. Okay. You were given life. Okay. Go out there and live it. And one of the great role models, nature has a number of great role models. One is, the universe is always creating, it's always changing, and it's always in order. And one of my favorite is the common ant. The common ant has been around for approximately 110 million years for one reason and one reason only. They work together. Let's work together. Let's so we can lift not only ourselves, everybody else up. And when we lift them up, it lifts us up. Okay? Yep. And it doesn't get any more complicated than that.
Beautifully said.
That was just awesome. And Richard, by the way, if you're listening to this and you're on your way to the grocery store, or you're going to go to talk to somebody that you don't know, do it with a smile. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't hurt. You can do that, and then check yourself and how you feel after the interaction with them, when you smile at them and then they smile back at you.
Right.
It can be a magical thing, and it can change somebody's life.
Amen.
So, Richard, it is, and I got to tell you, I knew we'd have a great time with this, and you need to come back. That's just
anytime. I'm like, you guys are the light, and I'm like the bug. I'm gonna keep coming.
Well, and Rochelle has never mind. She's got a whole bunch of bugs, but
okay.
But again, I want to thank you for being here. You are just exceptional. Go to his website, Rochelle, which is?
Yes, go to his website, Brainyites.com. He has all the information on there. And then again, go find his book, which is on Amazon. And Richard, we'll see you again soon.
Okay, thank you so much. It's been fun. It's been real. In fact, it's been real fun.
Hey.
Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.